Welcome the Minister to the House this evening for this very important debate, and I would like to condone with him in his utter condemnation of the Russian illegal and unprovoked invasion of Ukraine. This is going to have a lot of, I suppose, create a lot of trying circumstances for us here in Ireland and our agricultural community in particular, but they are just mere shadows of the turmoil and the pain and the grief that are being suffered by the Ukrainians. And I would like to be associated with your remarks in asking for the Russians to leave as soon as possible without any conditions. Minister, many people in conversation would say that mechanisation and nitrogen probably have underwritten global population growth when it comes to food security since World War II. And the fertiliser, nitrogen and our diesels and fuels were heading for a crisis situation before the invasion. Costs had escalated and it was putting a lot of pressure on our farming community. And a lot of farmers would have decided, due to costs, to possibly cut back, irrespective of whether they were in the schemes, cut back on their fertiliser for the coming year because of the exorbitant costs, and probably even cutting back on some of their work. And there may have been bits of tillage that were going to be not done this year that would have been done in previous years because of the price of bringing in contractors who have to enormous expense when it comes to diesel. So when we compound that with the invasion and with the situation in Russia and Ukraine at the moment, we are heading towards a serious crisis, in my opinion, and desperate times call for desperate measures, and we are in desperate times. I suppose the one area that we have no control over that could have a big say in all of this before the year is out is the weather. So we're here hoping that we will have a good summer but not too dry, and that the harvest and winter coming will not be too bad. I welcome, as you have outlined in your own statement, your National Food and Fodder Security Committee, the Soils, Nutrients and Fertiliser campaign, and your rapid response team that's to be chaired by the Secretary-General, and the fact that you did meet with the farm organisations in Teagasc fairly early into the crisis. And in particular, I also welcome your targeted tillage support package and multi-species swards. But just on that, Minister, I would have a couple of questions and a couple of observations. And that money is available to people who plant crops or who go into tillage who haven't had tillage previously, or have in fields that haven't been ploughed previously, or that there wasn't tillage crops in last year. And while you outlined the potential for a fodder shortage in the coming year, if we don't get this right, I would ask that question also, as myself, I suppose, from my own perspective, as a beef farmer. If I were to consider tillage to help out with the crisis, I would be ploughing land that I would have been taking silage off the previous year. So while I might be providing grain to help the cause, I could and possibly would leave myself with a fodder shortage with the silage that I wouldn't have. So it's not everybody, or it's not anybody or many people who would have land sitting by that didn't have a purpose last year in meeting their own feed requirements. I would also like to just mention the REAP scheme, and I don't know if you can revisit that at this stage, but a lot of people signed up land to the REAP scheme last year, and one of the biggest conditions of the REAP scheme is low input. And as we've said about the importance of fertiliser in achieving our targets when it comes to feed and fodder, you know, the lower the input possibly is going to mean a lower output. And people signed up to that scheme, again myself included, last year with no idea of the position we would be in this year, and budgeted for same. I would have achieved my own fodder targets, but now if we have to increase and I won't have maybe the possibility of being able to get grain next winter, it could in certain ways hinder me going forward. The biggest issue I would have, Minister, and we've addressed this before, but I am going to address it again, is with the diesel costs. And if people who are not accustomed to doing tillage on a regular basis decide to do so, they will have to bring in farm contractors. They don't have the equipment to plough, till, seed, harvest themselves. And the farm contractors are crippled at the moment with diesel costs. Now, I welcome the fact that there has been a small reduction in diesel prices, and that there are ongoing negotiations to enhance that further through VAT. But farm contractors have to charge enormous prices at the moment to just break even because of their diesel costs. And they have been caught, while farmers themselves can write off a part of their diesel costs in their tax returns. Contractors are not in a position to do that. And I would encourage, even at this late stage, that you would consult with Ministers McGrath and O'Donoghue and see if we can have some support for farm contractors when it comes to the diesel costs. Something along the line that has been introduced for hauliers, possibly, and maybe even a little bit more, because there is going to be more of a demand on the contractor with people doing tillage who are not accustomed to tillage, as I say, and don't have the machinery to do so. I would even also ask at this stage, Minister, that with your colleagues in Europe, that we might have to have a relook at CAP going forward, because irrespective of the length of the war, I think it will be a long time before things come back to normal, and this crisis will be possibly ongoing for the duration of the next CAP. So I don't know if it would be possible to look at that. And finally, Minister, just again, you mentioned horticulture yourself. With regard to fruit and vegetables, we've had the debates, I'm not going through it all again, about the importation of peat from the Baltics. That now is also an issue. So our horticulture sector, who have been dependent on imported peat to meet their needs, now won't even have access to the same quantities of that imported peat. So I think we need to look at the solution here on the island.
Thank you very much, Senator.